Greetings, Greyhound fans, and happy game day. Welcome to the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show alongside Coach Blake Pennock. I am Trey, Brennan. The Greyhounds traveled north last Friday night to take on the Yellow Jackets of St. Martin and came out victorious for the fifth consecutive season by a final score of 49-24. Around the region, the Hancock Hawks hosted the Harrison Central Red Rebels and defeated them 14-10. The Indians traveled to Pascagoula and beat the Panthers 15-14 on a late field goal. And the Gulfport Admirals, who the Greyhounds will see tonight, hosted the D'Iberville Warriors and won 40-21. Now let's take a look at the region standings heading into the final 2 weeks of regular season play. Not a lot of moving around this week as the teams in the top half of the region extended their leads by a game each. Ocean Springs and Gulfport still sit at the top of the region with a 5-0 record. Let's recap last week's 49-24 win over the Yellow Jackets. Senior quarterback Bray Hubbard went 14 of 24 with 232 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns, while also adding 121 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Sophomore running back Jeremy Odie recorded his first 2 touchdowns on 9 carries and 60 yards. J.P. Coulter and Will Gray also added a rushing touchdown each. Christian White finished with 4 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Wyatt Finley added 79 yards, and J.P. Coulter added 62 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, Trace Carter and Talon Carter each finished with 6 total tackles and then added 8 tackles for loss between the two of them. Coach, you guys picked up a region win on the road last week. That's always good. But, of course, we all know, everyone who's been following this team all year, we know we have high expectations, and we didn't necessarily meet some of those expectations Friday night. What are your key takeaways, both good and bad, from Friday night's game?
Well, obviously, the good thing about it is offensively. Over 530 yards of offense. Really only had 2 stops. We had a turnover on the very first drive there, and then kind of a miscommunication on one of the drives in the second half where we feel like we had a pretty good play out there. We went a different direction, and then botched the hold on the special teams, which leads to kind of some of the bad part of it. Our kicking game was pretty poor, was as bad as it's been since I've been here. So we kind of got to get that. We got to get that worked out there, and defensively, I think it's just kind of I felt we did okay. I thought they had a good scheme. They did a good job right there of kind of putting some holes in there. Obviously, Keyshawn Thomas didn't play in the game, which is a huge loss for us defensively. And then Will Gray gets out of there, and then at that point in time, you just kind of Bryson Smith couldn't go. He started early in the game and then had to get pulled out or just kind of beat up, and then it just limits us. At the end of the day, this game is about players, and you get kind of limited there at the back end, and so they took advantage of a few of those things. But overall, a 25-point win on the road again. Just continue to keep this thing rolling.
And honestly, it's always good to have a 25-point win on the road, and then you're looking at what we did wrong, what went wrong. That's obviously something we can never take for granted. In this point of the year, you're talking about injuries and stuff like that starting to mount up. Not to harp on special teams, but obviously that was probably the biggest thing from last Friday night. What's going on with special teams, and how are we fixing it?
Right now, obviously, if as far as its PAT field goal, the biggest thing was we wanted to we moved Owen Williams is our normal short snapper on PAT field goal, and it wasn't really anything he's doing. So we moved him to the guard position to kind of help our protection a little bit. We felt we had a decent snapper right there in Jarrett Scott, and to do okay with that, so we get a little better protection. Obviously that didn't work out. Had a couple low snaps that Dabo Berglund handled pretty decently. And then, at that point, we felt it was low, so we made the change at halftime to put Owen back at center and adjust right there. And then we couldn't obviously get the kickoff. And, and so that's just kind of one of those things. Kickers are a different world that I don't really ever desire to live in. Other than just, hey, your job is to put the ball in the end zone and put it through the uprights. Otherwise, I don't care what you do. So we got to get that fixed. But Bart's he's one of the best in the state of Mississippi, and he'll get that done from him. That's all, over my head a little bit. But, we'll just kind of get back to work on it. For us, it's just, the blocking's okay, the snaps are okay, the holds are okay. Just got to get it done.
Kicking, long snapping, and being a hockey goalie are some positions in sports I don't envy at all, because you're basically a one-man band when it comes to that. Obviously football's a team game, but kicking, it comes down to you putting it through the upright. So I agree. I don't envy Bart at all. Running backs, some young running backs stepped up early and in a big way. Jeremy Odie, only a sophomore, scored his first 2 rushing touchdowns. Freshman Aiden Watson coming up to varsity. He also got some carries. As we're preparing for the next stage of the season, finishing this year up and heading into the playoffs, why is it so important to develop these young running backs so you have depth?
I think, I mean, you see it right now. Anytime you can have an injury at any point. Obviously, I mean, you know, we feel really good in during the middle of the season there with Will Smith leading 6A in rushing, right, and you know, all the future of that, and then boom, an injury goes down, and then you have an injury. We thought we were pretty deep at wide receiver, you know, and then we've had just a plethora of injuries at wide receiver over the course of the season. So now we're down to, you know, the bare minimum there. And, you know, I think that depth, building around your football team, that's why I think you're so good for our 7th, 8th, and 9th grade JV programs to continue to develop these guys. You know, Aiden Watson coming up, obviously, being a young back that's been really talented, has had some fumbleitis there, you know, but that's one of the things that in 9th grade football, you don't get that because he's such a good athlete. He doesn't ever get put in those positions. Well, now he moves up to varsity, he's starting to develop a little bit of that.
Right.
And he'll get better at that. He'll obviously get better. You're going to learn more going through these things than you are just running up and down the field on 9th graders, you know. And so he'll get better at that. He's a guy that we have a tremendous amount of excitement for his future, so he's going to continue to get better. And Jeremy Odie as well. Jeremy is really new to the running back position going into this season. He's been a slot receiver, wideout, you know, but his brother David Humphreys was big success for us as a great player, so we know he's got it in him. Had a great week of practice last week, and so we wanted to get him some totes early, and he just did a great job there and looked about like we wanted to.
We're going to take a quick break, come back, and talk about our opponent this week, the Gulfport Admirals, for what might be the biggest game of the year. We're going to be right back right here on the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show. Welcome back to the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show. The Greyhounds are back home tonight at Hugh Pepper Field for a big-time matchup against the Gulfport Admirals with a kickoff set for 7 p.m. The Admirals started the year by winning 3 of their 4 non-region games, with the only loss coming to the 5A powerhouse of the Picayune Maroon Tide. The Admirals then opened region play with 5 straight wins, including a 40-21 victory against the D'Iberville Warriors last week. The high-powered offense of the Admirals are averaging 28 points per game. They currently sit at 5-0 in region play and 8-1 overall, with only Ocean Springs and Biloxi left on the schedule. Coach, John Archie and the Admirals always have a strong program over there. They've won the region title pretty much every other season the last 10 years. What can you say about Gulfport's team this year? What can we expect?
Well, I think it's going to be back to kind of the typical Gulfport team. I mean, they're incredibly athletic. They have a ton of size. They have some good dudes that can take it the distance anytime they get a chance to. You know, the quarterback, Palazzo, is an experienced guy, a guy that can really push the ball down the field and make some plays. So we got to do a really good job in the back end. He's just athletic enough right there to be able to make some plays with his legs. Offensively, they put you in some binds formationally. They're going to be kind of all over the place as far as what they do schematically. They do a really sound job. Defensively, they're going to be in a 3-down front for the most time. Now, they did that last year, and they switched to a 4-down front against us, so we'll see kind of what they do tonight. But they're really sound. They're going to be a cover 3 defense. They're going to do a really good job. They spend some man in there just in case what they try to do against us. We have to be aware for something like that anytime they change. But very sound, very good program. It's a consistent program. They're always winning, right? They're always going to be athletic. Coach Archie runs as good of a program as you see in the state of Mississippi. We have a ton of respect for them and their athleticism and their size and the way that they do things. They're a good team. This is a game we're really excited for. We really need this test for us.
Absolutely, and a big test for our defense coming out of St. Martin game where they allowed 24 points. Our defense showed us earlier this year that they can respond after a game like that, and they can, you know, hear the message loud and clear from you coaches. What does the defense have to do tonight to keep Gulfport from succeeding on offense?
I think we have to have guys step up. You know, we got to have to show some toughness and some grit. You know, we're banged up. It's no secret there. We're injured. We got some guys out. We got to have some guys that, you know, that are asked to do some more. They got to step up and play. You know, when it's your time call, they got to do those things. And so we really need a big performance from our defensive line. We got to get pressure on the quarterback, and we got to move him off his spot. And then we also have to do a really good job controlling the running game. Being sound in the back end, right? Being sound in the back end to make sure we do a good job capping the coverage and not let them get any big explosive plays. And then when we do break the pocket there, our second level has to play well. I mean, it's just going to be a full cohesive effort right there for all 11 guys. And, really just trying to play this thing out for 4 quarters. We do understand this is going to be probably a fight going all the way through.
Absolutely. And, when you're facing a team like the Gulfport Admirals, you can expect to have to play whistle to whistle and, start to end. Offensively for the Greyhounds, you scored a lot of points last week. You've been scoring a lot of points this season. What does our offense need to do this Friday night to be successful and continue that trend?
I think for us, it's a big ask to control the line of scrimmage. They did a good job last year of really, kind of hampering the box a little bit. But when you try to take away the box, they gave us the perimeter. And so trying to see that little chess match right there going between, what are we going to work the perimeter, we're going to work in the box, that kind of thing. I think our offensive line's been playing pretty well as of late, and so we're going to need to ask them for a big challenge this week. They do a really good job of stunting and moving their fronts. They're really athletic up there. So hopefully we really be able to do a good job communicating up front, to do a really good job of pushing them off the line of scrimmage. And then we're going to need a big night from our running backs, Bray Hubbard, J.P. Coulter, Christian White. Those guys are going to have to do a really good job tonight in the secondary, in the air, trying to connect on these passes to push the ball down the field too as well.
So it sounds like between that and the fact that Gulfport, as you said a few minutes ago, can switch between a 3-down line and a 4, there's going to be a lot of mid-game adjustments going on tonight.
Yeah, and they're typically a 3-down front team. That's what they're going to try to do. But, for us, typically teams change what they do. Do they do something completely different to they have the secret sauce or whatever. Like they did it last year. They tried to play some guys both ways, offensive line-wise, and went to a 4-down front. So we're up for everything. We'll make the adjustments as they go. And eventually you try to take something away, you're going to give something else up at some point. So it's just our job as coaches to make sure that we see those things and being able to adjust accordingly.
Absolutely. It sounds like it's going to be a really good game. We're going to take a quick break, come back and wrap things up. You're watching the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show. Welcome back to the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show. The Greyhounds are back home tonight to host the Gulfport Admirals at 7 p.m. in a big game that will likely decide the regular season championship for Region 4 6A. Now it's time for Inside the Headset with Coach Pennock, where each week we break down something that coaches might be thinking about or looking at during the game and kind of give you an explanation of what's going on inside their headset. Coach, during the games, your staff is kind of split half and half between half of them, including you being on the field, and then some of the guys up high in the box. What are they looking for, the guys that are in the box? What is their role during the game? What are they looking for, and how do you determine who is where?
Okay, well, it's pretty simple. It depends. Obviously, it depends on the coordinators. They have various different systems of the way that they look at it, offensively, defensively. Your defensive coordinator is going to be on the field, kind of more or less to be there for the leadership aspect, the leadership role of that, being able to see those things. And then you have a guy. Usually, it's a trusted coach, right? A guy they're going to be, being able to be real cerebral and be able to call out some things that they look at, formations, personnels, different things. If there's any issues going on with the way that we're aligning, we can hurry up and try to fix those. Now, some of that's been, kind of watered down a little bit just because of the technology now that's on the sideline. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of that's is, down in distance and personnels and different things that we can communicate through the headset. And then, offensively, for us, usually, you have your coordinators are most of the time going to be on the sideline. Well, our offensive coordinator, Jake Bramlett, goes to the box, right? And a lot of that is because of him and I's relationship. We've been together for a really long time, and him and I are used to that setup. Mm-hmm. Where, like back when I was calling plays as an offensive coordinator and he was my wide receivers coach, I was on the field and he was in the box for me. It's just a way we communicate better, and he just does a really good job of being in control, being calm, being upstairs, and being able to see the entire field to be able to call the best plays that we have. And so that's how we're able to continue to make so many adjustments during the series and such, because he sees things up there that is just so good, and then I can see some things from the field and handle anything from a leadership standpoint that we need to on the field. And so it's really good. It's a really good marriage between us, and then obviously our defensive staff does a really good job with that communication level. So it's always different, but usually for us we kind of settle into that, and our offensively is pretty set in stone.
So when you were a coordinator, did you prefer up in the box or down on the field?
Absolutely on the field. I mean, as you've seen me on the sideline. I'm kind of an always on the go type of deal. A box would keep me just insane.
Right.
But more times than not, and everybody kind of has the method of which they call plays and different things. I could see what I needed to see from the field, and then I trusted him to see certain things that I couldn't see from the field on there. But it was really important for me to see the quarterback's eyes. I wanted to be down there with him. But for our standpoint, me and Coach Bramlin are basically the same person. All right, we see the game in the same way, so there's really no need for us to both be on the field at the same time. So he's up top, and then I'm on down the field and all that. So that way it's a perfect little marriage. That's why I think our offense is so successful on top of, obviously our great players.
That's a great partnership to have, both on offense and defense. Coach, a big night tonight as we have the ceremonial groundbreaking for the new football field house at 5:45 p.m. That's a big accomplishment for you and your program. What does it mean for you, given how much time you spent on this project since you've been here, and what does it mean for the program as a whole?
Yeah, it just seems like it's such a happy day because it seems like it's been such a long time coming. I mean, it's a huge deal for us. I mean, obviously, I think that, since I've been here now 3 years, and we got ranked in the top 10 in Mississippi and on all like those polls and stuff about the 7th or 8th week of the season in my first year, and we have not been outside of those polls and have been mostly in the top 5 for the last 2 years since, and I think just the tremendous amount of success that our players and our coaches, our program as a whole have had, and we're trying to be, that top tier 6A program, and I think it shows the commitment level to our student athletes. It's something that is sorely needed. It's a big deal, to kind of, if we want to be that kind of program, we got to back it up. Right, and this, like I said, is something that's needed, and I'm so happy for our players, our program, our coaches, our staff, to get something like that. It's going to be a beautiful building. I cannot wait for it to get going and get started. I know our players are chomping at the bit to get into it, and I think it just shows where our program is going, and our school district and our superintendent and everybody involved, athletic director Mark Hubbard, has really stepped up and to get into this and try to get this done.
Absolutely. Lots of momentum building around the Greyhound football program. That's going to do it for episode 8 of the Ocean Springs Football Coaches Show. Before we go, quick editor's note. We are not tearing down the oak tree to build the new field house. I know the sign, the coming soon sign, kind of makes it look like we're putting it right on top of the oak tree, but we would never do that. The phone calls, y'all, we're good. All right, we're not tearing down the oak tree. Join us at 5:45 for the ceremonial groundbreaking tonight, and then the 2022 Hall of Fame class for the Ocean Springs Athletics Hall of Fame will be recognized on the field at 6:15, and then, of course, kickoff at 7 against the Admirals. Don't forget, you can find all the information you can ever need on the Greyhound football program on the official website of your Greyhounds by visiting oshsfootball.com. We hope you have a great weekend. We hope we get a Greyhound win tonight. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.